Good morning and welcome to the EZFX Trading Room broadcast for Thursday, the 4th of August, 2016. My name is Bradley Freed, and for the next 20 minutes to half hour, you'll be joining me for a review of our watch list, the trades we have open and the trades that we're looking to open up in the near future. If you have any questions during the broadcast, if you're attending live, please post them to the chat room that's on this page. I will answer all questions at the end of the broadcast live. And if you are watching the recording, please, and you have a question, please send it to me by private message, post to the Trading Room group, or you can send me a regular email at ezfxsignal@gmail.com. Okay, well, let's get started. Let's look at our watch list. We kind of knocked it down yesterday and reduced the number of pairs we were looking at. So let's see. Let's review that again before we get into the charts. We were watching the dollar peso sell, the dollar yen buy, and the CAD yen buy. On our newer open trade list, the euro dollar sell was new. The New Z dollar sell was open. The dollar Swiss buy was open. And then we had all our pound trades. The pound dollar buy was open, as was the euro pound sell, pound CAD buy, pound New Z buy, pound Aussie buy, and pound Swiss buy. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in, start looking at the charts, and update our list. So we had a big event that happened today that pushed our pound pairs quite a bit. And I just want to talk about that just a little bit. I usually use Forex Factory for my reference for events. And that was the official bank rate for the pound, which was dropped from 0.5 to 0.25. Now, this was expected. This is the forecast. So it should have been largely priced in, but we did see a lot of movement against the pair. I don't think this is a reason to panic. I think we'll probably see some retracement on this move. If we don't, then we do face the prospect again of potential loss risk on the pound Aussie, which does not yet have its move to break even. And we could see other trades that we have open, especially the pound Swiss is vulnerable, and the euro pound is vulnerable to just being stopped out at break even, which would end those trades. The other pound trades are still have a relatively large margin of pips before they would go to the stop loss. So I'm not terribly worried about this. We also have an unemployment rate an announcement coming up in about 19 minutes for the United States. I think there's going to be some movement on that. There usually is. So we'll see how that impacts this. But the telling thing will be to see if we get, say, a retracement halfway, maybe to the bottom of this. Let me just mark this. Maybe to the bottom of this new of this support level here. And if it does retrace, if it doesn't keep going down, then I think we can assume this is priced in, that people were trading the event, that it dropped, and that we have a good prospect for recovery again on good news, or as the situation in the UK evolves post-Brexit, that will fulfill our trade idea of getting to this weekly pivot and then to the July monthly pivot above. As I've said, I do have a bias in the direction of this pair. If we were stopped out by an event on any of these trades, I would look for a new entry opportunity when a valid entry opportunity appeared and try to trade that again. I think it's too great to ignore, and it may take a few months to get there, to win that. But if we stay focused and we do what we can to get into those opportunities, to exploit those opportunities and hold on, stay focused on the goal, then I think we can take a pretty large profit from this Brexit, from the conclusion of this Brexit, at least the near-term conclusion of Brexit. All right, so as I said, and we can just go ahead and call this review of our pound pairs. Okay, pound dollar. Pound dollar unfortunately stopped out on this event. So that's one trade we unfortunately have to close. I don't see a buy trade setting up immediately on this, so I'm not focusing on a retrade right now. This was a trend entry, and these can work spectacularly, or they can also stop out like any trade. In this case, it broke out, it started facing headwinds, and when it did start to drop, it produced an opposite direction Class A. It was close to the entry point, so usually I ignore those. I usually try to just see if we can get through them if they're really close to the entry, because it's just not productive. And in my testing, I found that when you have an opposite zone that appears right on the entry, it pays off to try to get through it, to break through it, invalidate it. And your wins with the risk reward ratio will definitely replace and give back anything that you would lose on these stop losses. But in this case, we did stop out, and on the pound dollar, I was risking 71 pips. So this is a loss of 71. You may have had some slip on this, but for our purposes, I'm just going to put down 71 pips. And this is unfortunate, but these things do happen, so. Okay, and as for the other pound pairs, euro pound, again, it's retraced up almost to the previous low it made here before it started to move back in the direction of our trade. It may go further. The worst it could do is stop out a break even. Same with the pound CAD. It's kind of given back a little bit more than we gained during the week. It's at the current August monthly pivot at this point. Even if it continues all the way down to this stop level, that's a break-even stop, so it won't lose any money except any slip you have on the exit and any swap interest you may have paid would be your only expense for the trade at that point, and that would be eclipsed by the profit you made hitting the first target. Pound Newsy, same thing. It's dropped and given back what it gave us during the week in anticipation of this announcement. I don't know what they were thinking. You often see this with announcements like that the pair will advance before, and then it'll drop when the news actually comes in. Even though people are pretty sure what the news is, they'll still run the price up right before that. So there's like a little market that they build around the announcement. Event traders tend to push the price very far, very quickly, and when they're out, they're out. So when they give up on this, then the downward pressure on the pair relents, and it pops up again. That may very well happen in this case, simply because so much of this was already priced in, because the forecast was already for this. So you had a lot of event traders driving this move, and when they see it start to reverse, they get out. In fact, they're probably already getting out. They probably have a time stop. They may wait 1 hour, they may wait 2 hours, but then they're gone. And we'll see what happens after that. We'll see also what happens with the unemployment rate announcement in the US in a few minutes. Okay, so I talked about pound Newsy, pound Aussie. This is the only one, again, that we have a stop loss risk on. And this has kind of come down right to our entry price and stopped. We have a little bit of up candle here. It could drop more. It could drop all the way to the stop. I'm not doing anything to this just because I'm following my trade plan. And this is how I test and this is how I trade. So for now, we're not doing anything. And hopefully, like I said, and it's not a sure thing, but hopefully we'll get some relief on this, and it'll come up at least to this resistance level here. And pound Swiss, like I said, it's close to its stop. It gave back a lot of what it gave us during the week when it rose off this low. We'll see if it goes all the way to the stop, or if it rebounds again a little bit over the course of the day and by the end of the week. So that's where we are. It's not, of course, we like to see bigger numbers. We don't like to see things going in the opposite direction, but these things do happen, and this is why we manage our risk, and this is why we take risk off the table, move stops to break even, do all those mechanical things to be ready for the downside when the upside is takes time or doesn't happen. And that means that we control our drawdowns, we control the damage to our trading accounts, and we don't get slid back so far that when we do take a profit, it's not going to be a net profit for us. Okay, so let's look at some of our other things that were new or open. The euro dollar, when we talked yesterday, was getting ready to open, and it did open. It dropped more. This repainted and became a real sell bubble. But we had Class A and we had a trend line break. That was enough to get in. So if you got in right about here, you would have had a risk of 46 and a target at the monthly pivot of 80. And we're almost there. This is proceeding in that direction. It's sort of retraced a little bit. We'll see what happens with it when the dollar and how that impacts this pair in about 10 minutes. But it may drop and continue to go all the way. It's not we haven't hit our first target, so the stop is not a break even yet. In advance of the announcement, you could always move the stop to break even a little bit early, just to kind of prevent any loss that might happen if there's a big spike on this in reaction to that news, to that announcement. That's entirely up to you. If it only moved a little bit, I wouldn't do that. It's kind of pointless because volatility will stop you up. But this has moved quite a bit. It's gotten 80% of the way to our profit, or 90% of the distance to our initial profit target. So you could go ahead and move your stop to break even on this, just to be careful. And so this is open at this point. I have to apologize. I was not able to get a signal out on this because I do sleep at some portion of the day, and unfortunately, this opened up and started moving about 2 hours before I woke up. So I didn't get in on this, which I'm kind of kicking myself because this is one of the great trades for the week, and I had talked about it, explained it. But hopefully, if you're in another time zone, you were watching and you were able to get into this even without my signal. All right, New Z dollar sell. This one has retraced. And this is one I've been watching and hoping to get into as well. It looks like we'll have another opportunity to do that. I'm going to wait until it gets back to the zone. I'm not anxious to jump into this right away. We had this scenario with the dollar peso earlier in the week, and I got in about here. Plus, we don't see it really falling over. It doesn't look like it's gonna drop again. It looks like it wants to keep going up. So, especially with this dollar announcement coming up, I think there's going to be some event risk impacting price on this. So let's kind of wait until after 7:30 and see how it shakes out, and see if we can get back to this zone and set up another Class A signal and trend line and everything else we look for, sell bubble, before we try to get into this again. And then we'll have another opportunity to trade this pair. At this point, there's no reason to get out of it. You're a little bit underwater on the trade, and you've already sized into the position. So you're kind of along for the ride, unless you just have a real overriding reason why you'd like to close out of this trade. I can't think of anything in our rules that would tell us to do that yet. If this triangular moving average changes color to blue, if this had been an opposite direction Class A signal with a divergence line touching it or inside of it, then I'd say yes, go ahead and just dump it. But at this point, I don't think there's not a compelling reason to, unless you just are concerned about the announcement, or you have some other knowledge or some other rule that you use personally that would tell you that you want to loss cut this trade. So I'm still calling it open for our purposes. And next we have a dollar Swiss buy. This is another one I wish I had been up for. We got in down here with a required stop loss of about 40 pips and getting close to the first target at the monthly pivot at 0.9757. we've printed on the 1 hour chart bearish divergence. It's class B divergence, which I typically ignore. We do have a sell bubble forming here, which we should go ahead and mark and just be aware of. Yeah, I still like the buy trade. This has gone done a majority of what we wanted to do. It's a dollar pair, so in advance of this announcement, if you're concerned about that, you could either take partial profit and move the stop to break even, or just move the stop to break even, because it's gone 80% of the distance already. And that would just give you additional protection going into the announcement. But that's entirely up to you. It's not something I normally do. It's something I may start doing just because it's smart. And we should always do what's smart, especially if we have evidence that it, based on past situations that have occurred, that it would have helped. And as much as making money is good, but also limiting risk and limiting loss is also a big contributor to profitability. If you notice it, you'll notice in your testing, if you don't do one well, the other one won't work very well. Even if you have winning trades, if you've had a lot of large stop outs, you're going to be running into the wind, as they say, and it's not going to have the result that you would hope for. Okay, so all three of these are open. Let's look at the dollar pace. These are our watching trades. I only had 3. Remember, I cut down a lot because I thought it was just kind of a ridiculous list in terms of being aware of things and making decisions and concentrating on things. So dollar peso sell, that's the first one I want to look at. This has kind of set up, but I never got a sell bubble. So I'm not in this yet. I'm waiting for a sell bubble in addition to all this other stuff. We have a class B supply zone, triangular moving average color change. I drew this trend line, it got broken and it moved lower. So there are things here that are attractive. It's a dollar pair. So this announcement coming up in 5 minutes is going to have some impact on it. I don't think it's time to get into it yet. So I'm still watching it. And it does pay if you wait for your required signals to appear before you get into trades. It's just, you'll notice it if you backtest this, that it works. And it prevents you from getting into a cycle where you're having several stop outs before you finally catch the winner. You wait a little longer, you get past your emotions, and you follow your rules, and lo and behold, the quality of your trades go up and your profitable results increase. Now, there's 2 trades that I opened as planned with a signal yesterday. Dollar and CAD yen. So these are both signal trades. Let's just take a look at what's going on with these. These are both things I've been watching for quite a while. In the case of the CAD yen, this is a first attempt on this pair. So I had a class A zone. I had all this divergence inside this zone. It's so big, I don't know if it's really valid or not, if it's really useful. But at least from a definition perspective, this is a class A demand zone. I have an almost bubble here, which I think will become a buy bubble once this, if this pair moves higher. And I had a break of this trend line, which was made during the most recent part of this trend. And I also had some higher highs made after that. So based on this evidence I got into this pair, this is CAD yen. It's not directly in the crosshairs of the event risk coming up in 3 minutes with the dollar and the unemployment rate decision, but it is a yen pair. So if the dollar yen is affected, this may be affected. My targets are the monthly pivot here, this month's monthly pivot at 79.3003, with a final profit target at the weekly pivot at 81.1947. So we'll see if we can get, at least, and this monthly pivot is below the 50% retracement on the recent move on this pair. We'll see if we can at least get it to pop up that far and get us to break even with some profit taken off the table. If you look on the 4-hour chart, this pair has dropped quite a bit, but it's dropped to a level where it's bounced before. So Brexit drop, drop, bounce, drop, a lot of divergence, a lot of signs of reversal here, a lot of people thinking about they want to buy that buy a reversal into a buy trend. And we've also had the Japanese government dropping a hell of a lot of stimulus announcements this week into the Japanese economy. It hasn't had an effect on the currency. They haven't really done anything to relieve that, to weaken the currency further. I'm not sure they can, to be honest, as I talked about yesterday. But it is a place where there's potentially a reversal up, at least as far as these levels here, if not all the way to this Class A supply zone where the downtrend started again. So I like this entry for those reasons. The dollar yen, this also gave us a similar signal. Remember, it's a Class A demand zone, almost bubble, trend line break, and then we had some higher highs made that kind of convinced me to go ahead and get into it. It's since made more higher highs. We'll see if this how much this pair is affected by the announcement that's coming right up. So let's go ahead and go to Forex Factory and refresh it, and we'll just live kind of look at this live and see what happens. Now, these are unemployment claims. The forecast is 265. It didn't change much. It was a little bit less. It was 1,000 less than the previous month, this forecast. And we'll see if it's greater or less than that. That's 269, so we actually had more. Let's just see what that does to our dollar. Normally it takes a few minutes for these to shake out. Dollar yen not really being hit so hard yet, but again, this just happened, and then a few seconds later you'll see things really start to move. Let's look at pairs like the pound dollar. Does anybody even care about this after that pound rate announcement? See how this is impacting. And at this point, at least, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that it's really moved much at all. Based on this announcement, things that you'd expect to move. Well, the euro dollar is retraced a little bit, but that was already doing that. The New Zealand dollar is a little bit blunted here. Maybe it'll start to fall force again. Yeah, this far it seems to be a non-event. We'll see what happens, in the next 15 minutes, but I'm not seeing a lot of reaction on my charts from this. And I do believe my charts are updating normally. Just check my phone to be sure. Sometimes your charts will lock up and then you aren't really sure what happens. And nothing's really moving at this point in time, so. Yeah, no, that's accurate. It's not kind of a non-event this morning, so that's good. So hopefully our dollar yen will actually show more signs of recovery, some more higher highs, and we'll get some advancement on that today. These are our two open signal trades. Sadly, we took a loss on the pound dollar. I don't see, based on what I'm looking at now, a new setup right away. I'd have to see a buy bubble, a Class A signal, a place to draw a trend line. So there needs to be a lot of evolution of price action before I'm going to have a new place where I'm going to want to trade this. So that's all I have to talk about this morning. I think that updates our list. I'm not looking at any new trades at this point just because we're getting towards the end of the week, and I want to focus on managing what we have open. And I will have an update of some kind for you over the weekend after I've had a chance to decompress and walk away from the market and come back on Sunday with fresh eyes. So sometime early next week, I'll have a new analysis report for you. But so far, I'm still focused pretty much the way I am as far as my overview of the market and the trades I like and the direction we're going. Let's take a quick peek at the trading room and just confirm that there's no live questions, and there are not. So what I want to do is encourage you, if you have any questions, to go to the community, join the trading room group if you haven't done so already. And when you go into the trading room group after joining, you can ask questions here. You just post a question, you can post charts, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. The other thing you can do is you can go into the community to members. You can find me, I'm EZFX. You can friend me if I haven't friended you already. I think I've friended everybody who's joined, so we're already friends. But there'll be a private message button like this under the EZFX logo, and you can send me a message if you have any questions. It's just a kind of cool way to communicate with each other on the site. And by all means, you can talk to other people too, make friends and ask questions. That's perfectly acceptable. And you can also, let me just go back to the trading room so I can write this down. You can just send me a regular good old-fashioned email like your mother used to send you at ezfxsignal@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely manner with some good info, answering any questions or concerns or anything I can help you with that's trading related. Definitely don't hesitate. Don't just lurk. Come out and ask questions. There's no such thing as a, let's see, what do the Japanese say? They say that asking a question is a one-time embarrassment, but not asking a question is a lifetime embarrassment. And I like that a lot. It's their version. I think it's a better version of there's no such thing as a dumb question. So anyway, I've gone a little bit longer than I planned. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back on Monday with the next edition of the live trading room. In the interim, I will be updating signals and updating you on any trades that we've been in this week. And I wish you a good weekend. And again, any questions, please contact me right away. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.